My favorite part of the brain is the frontal lobe. The frontal lobe has a lot of things that it does, and I think that it is the most important, and that is why it is my favorite. Some of the things that it does is executive functions, which means like decision making and problem solving, planning and reasoning. It controls your motor s- skill skills, so it'll control your voluntary muscle movements. It will help speech production, including the Broca's areas for language production, so you wouldn't be able to talk without your frontal lobe. It contains your working memory and temporary storage and manipulation of information. So it's the only reason why you can remember the people you love and why you're even on Earth. Um, it has to do with attention and concentration. So learning new things is necessary, and I feel like learning new things is one of the most fun and exciting things to do in life because if you can't learn, then it's just going to be really, really boring and you would kind of be like a dog. Um, it has emotional regulation, so it will like help you regulate your emotions and your impulse control, which keeps you safe from doing bad things and harmful things to yourself and others. And it lets you be social and lets you have like a functional role in society. It influences the personality traits that you have, um, which is really good because I think that the personality is my favorite part of being a human because everybody has a different personality, and your personality is like the only reason that you're different from other people and other things and objects. And everybody has a different personality, which makes life really interesting. And it has inhibition and self-control. Again, kind of like the emotional regulation with the impulse control. It supports creativity and innovation, so we would not be where we are today without our frontal lobe. And again, personality, like shaping unique traits and preferences. Like one of my preferences that my frontal lobe helps me develop is I love dogs. And you might hear my dog screaming at me in the background a little bit because she's sad. And that is activating my frontal lobe because I love her and want to let her inside. But I'm not going to because I'm in the middle of a project. So the frontal lobe is like a chunk of gray matter in the front of your brain, and that's like literally why it's called the frontal lobe because it's literally in the front. And I know I didn't pick like one of the tiny parts of the brain. I picked like a big chunk of brain just because this big chunk of brain is like the best. Like it's a chunk of gray matter that is responsible for like everything that you can do. So like I was a little bit sarcastic in this and like I'm like utterly ecstatic about this part of the brain region. It's like we can thank it for all the mundane stuff we do to the most complex stuff we do. So I feel like that's pretty cool. Um, here's some like things that uh some funny things that go along with each of the frontal lobe things. So people agonize over choices for hours, and that's part of the frontal lobe, what the frontal lobe does. We can choose our blame our behavior on our frontal lobe for our awkward moments. Um, we can blame our frontal lobe for stubbing our toe because it's supposed to control our motor skills. So, and we can thank it for um, speech and language mistakes and speech and language in general. We can thank it for memory loss and going into a room and forgetting things because your frontal lobe is supposed to remember things, but sometimes it's a little goofy. Um, Creativity, so like drawing is really cool, and like art is done by the frontal lobe. Self-awareness, and this is like my favorite part of the frontal. One of my favorite parts of the frontal lobe again is self-awareness because being self-aware means that we're aware of death, which means that we have more of an understanding of our purpose in life, and we have motivation to have a purpose in life compared to like maybe a dog with like a smaller frontal lobe or a less complex frontal lobe. Um, Adaptation. So like when we're hot or cold, we can our frontal lobe controls like our like how we respond to temperature, and life satisfaction. So we store all of our satisfaction and memories in our frontal lobe. I love my frontal lobe because it helps me choose my path. It helps me stay social. It helps me be creative, learning memory booster. It is my self-reflection partner. It's a adaptation expert, a problem-solving master, a unique amplifier, and a life satisfaction partner. So how do you think your frontal lobe? So obviously now that you know all about the frontal lobe and what it does, you're going to want to like take care of your frontal lobe so you can still have all of these amazing things. So to support your frontal lobe, you can give yourself a pat on the head. Your frontal lobe will love that. Um, you can eat healthy, stay hydrated, exercise regularly, like Dr. Metcalf, even though I think it's almost impossible to walk like 5 miles a day. But like exercising regularly in general would just be enough to help your frontal lobe out. Getting enough sleep, which is always hard to do, especially in college. So you want to make sure you're supporting your frontal lobe and mental health. Managing stress is like really important too. You can do puzzles or activities to engage your mind, and build on your skills that you have. Socialize with others. Don't isolate yourself. Challenge yourself. Take on new opportunities and try new things. And ask for help if you ever need it. And that's the way that you can thank your frontal lobe. And that's all about the frontal lobe and why it's my favorite part of the brain.